One. And we are live. Buenas tardes. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to what looks like episode 11. I didn't realize the last week was episode 10. And we will have made like a big old party. But today's episode 11 of the Moms for Trans Kids podcast. And I'm joined, as always, by my one my one co-host for now, and then there were two, right? Vicky Fowler, oh my God, the most beautiful woman that I've seen today. Hi, Vicky.
Hello, Dr. Lulu. Thank you so much. What a nice compliment on a long Sunday.
Yes, yes, and welcome back to the space, the woman with the beautiful sunflower, Kim.
Hello.
So,
Hello.
for those of you who are just joining us for this first time, my name is Dr. Lulu. I'm a pediatrician. Oh, am I even? I'm a radical, that's for sure. I'm a mom of a transgender young adult, and I agitate the governor of Texas in my spare time, which is like every time. So we're coming to you because, somebody needs to come and uphold this role of being a parent of a trans child, being a mother. I mean, let me be honest, being a mother of a trans child, because that's who we are. So we come to y'all every Sunday, if we can help it, at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, and we talk about what's on our minds. So my name is Dr. Lulu, and I'm going to send it off to Vicky to introduce herself. Vicky?
Hi, thanks, Dr. Lulu. My name is Vicky Fowler. I'm a family medicine physician in North Carolina and mother to three amazing children and a mama bear because I have a transgender daughter, a non-binary daughter, she, they, he, they, and so far as we can tell, cisgender son, and have just learned a lot from them. And I'm thrilled to be here. It's the witching month, so my husband has put up the Halloween lights. If you notice in the background, it's kind of orange flashy. So we're ready for Halloween here and excited about tonight's podcast.
Yes, 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 yes. And of course, if you don't know this yet, on the show, anybody can make an appearance. Sometimes it's our kids, sometimes it's our pets, sometimes it's the DoorDash guy. So, but to usher in reality and real talk, like she likes to say, is Kim. Kimmy, how are you today, Mama?
I'm doing lovely. So yeah, my name's Kim, and I am the parent of two beautiful sons who happen to be transgender. I'm a full-time professional. Hold it down there. I'm a single parent, so every day is a new adventure. Let's just say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I love the word adventure. Recently, I've embraced it to the max when I took a 17-hour cross-country drive because I thought I was gangster. So, but you know what?
Are gangster. You are gangster for that. That's
Thank
crazy.
you. My body is still recovering, and today I took a nap in the afternoon again, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is my new norm. But you know what? I welcome it with open arms. If you are joining us live, I see one person watching. Please introduce yourself, tell us who you are if you'd like, and ask us any questions at all. Today, the Moms for Trans Kids are going to be talking about gender reveal parties and the whole concept of gender assignment or gender attribution at birth. And that's because our guest today is a no-show because their daughter rather, is going to be having a gender reveal party today for their grandchild that they're expecting. And so I thought, you know what? Let's talk about gender reveals, shall we? And so we're going to be talking about what does it even mean to assign or attribute gender at birth? For those of you who have listened to this show, you know that I came up with this story that which comes first? Is it the doctor proclaiming it's a boy or it's a girl at birth, or is it the baby crying? And so we've all kind of decided that actually the doctor says it's a boy and it's a girl, and then the baby starts crying. So is the baby crying because it's like, I'm not a boy, I'm not a girl? Or is the baby crying? No, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So, Kim, I'm going to start with you. We're going to go alphabetical. So, Kim, when you hear gender reveal parties, I personally, when I came to America, I heard the phrase gender reveal parties. It's not something I've ever heard about in my country, Nigeria.
Mhm.
As a matter of fact, the color coding of genders was something I learned when I came to America. So we're going to talk about that as well today.
Really?
But Kimmy, when you hear gender reveal parties or gender reveal period, what are your thoughts?
Um, they weren't around when my kids were born. So of course, everybody was waiting to find out after the first ultrasound, what you're having, and with my oldest, we did an ultrasound, and I couldn't wait because I'm such a planner and I wanted to know everything about the gender of the baby so I could plan, right? Because you got to know what colors and what things to wear and how to decorate the room, and so I went about that just as parents do, but we didn't have gender reveal parties, and honestly, I think back and I go, oh, thank goodness I did. Because it would have just been more pictures and another event that was just embarrassing for my kids. Um, and again, it's another opportunity to celebrate the baby, and I'm all for getting together as a family to celebrate the baby, and I thought that's what the baby showers were for. So when these gender reveal parties came out, I was like, no, that's just one more party that we don't really need to have. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. I mean, and then now when people are having, I've never been to one either. And I don't know if I'll go. Like, I keep thinking about it going, if I got an invitation tomorrow for a gender reveal party, would I go? Because I'm not the audience that you want at a gender reveal party.
You might be actually the perfect audience for a gender.
I know. You may get thrown out of the
I might
party.
be kicked out. Yeah.
Yes. I think that they would think twice before they invite you. However, if they invite you, you're going to be a good sport. You're going to go because it's what we do. It's what we do. And then when we get there, we hold space for them because Maya Angelou said, you keep doing your best until you know better.
Yep.
And then only then do you do better. And so we're not here to judge. I want this podcast to be available to everyone. I don't want anybody to feel othered or, outed, so to say. We're not here judging you. It's a conversation that any three women would have and can have. And we just happen to be in your ears. Otherwise, truly, this is the conversation that people should be having. Now, I love what Kim said. Kim, you started right up by saying first ultrasound. This is something that, again, coming from Nigeria, because I don't call it third world country. I don't call it any country. My country is Nigeria. Coming from Nigeria, where we didn't even have ultrasounds, it wasn't something that we did. You just get the baby, the day the baby is born, you just know the baby's gender.
Figure it out, yeah.
For us in my country, again, talking about my country. But I like that you premised it with colors and decorations and more pictures and possibly embarrassing for the kids and stuff like that. Vicky, what are your thoughts about the way Kim responded? You were also obviously American and grew up here. I don't know, what was your past like with regards to gender reveal parties, gender reveals period, ultrasounds as a physician? What are your thoughts about the way Kim responded? That it was almost want to hold space for Kim as a parent who you should be excited about your baby. Again, I don't want people to think, oh my God, they're saying we should not be excited about the babies. I didn't say that.
No.
But now knowing what we know, it's like maybe there's another way to be excited about your baby. There are many other ways to be excited about your baby who will come with 10 fingers and 10 toes and not so much their gender. But, I digress. Go ahead, Vicky.
Well, I mean, my thoughts about it have certainly changed over the course of my life based upon things I've learned from my children and from the journey that we've been on together, learning more about the continuum of gender identity. I, as a family medicine physician, when I trained in the 90s, I trained in both obstetrical care and prenatal care and pediatric care. So, and when I went out into practice, I delivered babies for quite a number of years. So the ultrasound and designating the gender and knowing what the gender is. I mean, I was pretty much a big player in that. Is it a boy? Is it a girl? And the families were always picking out the colors and then, the names. And in my own experience with my 3 children, of course, my eldest, we knew exactly the gender. And when the ultrasound shows, the anatomy, I mean, then you narrow down the name, and then all the clothing comes. And so I was pretty much a big proponent all along of male gender. This is the stereotype. And then my second child was female, and then my third child was male. And you just kind of went along that way. So gender reveal parties there were no parties about it while I was having my children, but it was a big part of the whole culture of having a child. Now, some parents chose not to know, and mostly they did it just to be surprised, not because they were necessarily going to raise their child as gender neutral. That was not like a word I'd ever heard before. Again, so then fast forward from the training in the 90s, the years of delivering babies in the 2000, in the mid to late 90s into the 2000s, and then 2015 is when my child identified as gender fluid. And that's when I first learned about the continuum of gender identity. And so right about then, no kidding, is when gender reveal parties became popular. Now, I asked my daughter, Sarah, about this, and her feeling about gender reveal parties is that it is a backlash against, this transgender identity people adopt. She thought it's something people are doing just to kind of hopefully, clarify that in their minds. I basically take it as another way to have a party. I mean, and another way to have a get together. And celebrations are wonderful. I just have to have. I have this kind of sort of wisdom now and knowledge. And as people talk about their gender reveal parties, I have a sense of it's really not fair of you or us as physicians to define an individual's gender, because there's a certain percentage, again, it's a small percentage, 97% are going to identify with that anatomic definition, and the gender identity will correlate, and maybe 95% it correlates. But that other significant percentage, you have, basically it's a disservice, I think, to them in some ways. And I feel like there's got to be a way to be more open. And even if an individual wants to adhere to blue clothes or pink clothes, I really hope that parents can become wise enough to be more open to allowing a child to express themselves in a way that's comfortable for them as they get older.
Yeah, that's a long answer. Thank you so much, Vicky. For me, I did not do gender discovery on ultrasound because I wanted to be surprised. I'm just going to come out and state it for all children, all 3 of my children. I wanted the element of surprise. But there are so many ways we can go with this. As a Nigerian, having the first child who is assigned male is everything. It's the deep-seated want and need for every, or at least in my tribe, which is Igbo, you are like the bomb because your first child is a boy. It's so much so that my name is Uchenna, which means God's will. And my brother who came after me is called Ifanacho, which means the child we desire.
Ooh.
So I want to tell you that this is, my parents did it without probably thinking about it. But as a person who is a thinker, and I put 2 and 3 together to make 4, I was like, okay, so what am I, chopped liver? Like I came and was like, okay, well, I guess it's God's will. We got a girl. And then my brother comes and like, well, okay, now this is the child we're looking for. Really? So, but you can see how I have every right to interpret it that way. Because that's the way, that's what the names are saying.
Yeah.
The parents most likely did the naming because of whatever they were thinking of saying at the time I was born. But the truth is, they named my brother the child we desire. And I know in my country, in my tribe, having a first child male is the desired outcome of every pregnancy, first pregnancy in a marriage. So you can see how it can become easily discombobulated without even going into transgenderness. But Vicky, I love that you mentioned gender reveal party. And I wonder if Kim, do you have any thoughts on what if the trans people flipped it on their heads? Or was it Vicky that said that? And they also now do their own gender reveal parties as a way to now tell us this is really who I am. I mean, who says gender reveal parties must be for newborns? I mean, okay, I put it out there. What are your thoughts? Anybody? I mean, what are your thoughts?
You know what? It's funny because when, my oldest had his top surgery, I think that was when, we had It's a Boy balloons and everything. We had our own little celebration, just the small family. But ironically enough, when I was pregnant with him and we went to the ultrasound, he was not cooperating. He wasn't having it at all. So his legs were crossed. I knew nothing until I got to be I was almost 9 months pregnant before, they said you're having a girl. And we were just like, is she healthy? That's all we really care about at this point, because I had the shower already, purple, yellows, and greens, and we did the baby's room and rainforest theme because, that's pretty gender neutral. So I've been practicing this gender neutral thing since before my oldest was born. But, as far as, if you want to do it later on, as a celebration, why not be happy? Like you said, we celebrate happy trans things, right? And yes, you can be both trans and happy, and we have kids to show it, and I love that. So Vicky, I'm with you. If there's any reason to have a party, let's have one.
Let's have one.
Yeah, let's just have one.
Have a party.
Let's have one. Let's have one. And then Vicky, coming to names, I think you were the one that mentioned it to begin with, something about names. I want to, even before we talk about names, what about intersex? Both of us are physicians, both of us know, and I happen to know because I have a TED talk about it, that 1 to 3% of the human live births, 1 to 3% of live births are born with an indeterminate external genitalia. In that sense, it could either be one gender, one sex, or the other, or both, or neither. By looking at it, like you can't really tell. Actually, no, it's not one or the other. It's either both or neither. That's what it is. Indeterminate. You can't really say based on looking at the external genitalia. And so that brings in a very vital point. 1 to 3% of 8 billion is a lot of people for us to just disregard when you're trying to assign gender based on genitalia. So it looks like as we know better, right, we're becoming wiser anyway, as we're allowing ourselves to be wiser. Because now there's this group of people who are neither here nor there. So what do you do with them? Do you throw away the babies with the bath water, so to say? What do you say? What do you say about the intersex, even before we go into names? Vicky, what are your thoughts about intersex? As someone who delivered babies, did you ever have any intersex babies?
I personally did not have any children that had ambiguous genitalia that I can recall. Now, I'm trying to think way back here. Way back to residency and training and in my fellowship. And there probably were. And I just don't recall that being someone that I took care of personally. But it certainly, there were patients that I took care of that were adults in my hometown that probably were born with ambiguous genitalia, and definitely were. And societal, it's kind of interesting to think of as I know our society in my hometown, like accepted them, welcomed them, and it was always a bit of there was a continuum. I feel like in my hometown, which is fairly rural, there was some knowledge of the continuum, and that people were accepted as part of our community. And so I don't feel for those particular individuals, they were accepted as different. I guess that's the way. different but accepted. And there
Mhm.
wasn't like a definition. And you wonder what that was like when they were born. These are people, think back decades even before I was born. And who knows what the doctors told the parents, and who knows how that was tolerated in the family. Who knows what their lives were like, right?
And who knows what the gender reveal fancy ultrasound sonographer would tell when the child is actually, when the external genital is actually indeterminate, or in the case of, was it Vicky or was it Kim whose child was not cooperating? What is the gender reveal then? I mean, I think there's a lot to be said about if we want to start making things a thing. What if the baby says, we are not going to see my genitals today? What's in the envelope? What is in the envelope? This is just and I see a lot of, Vicky, 1 second. I wanted to give a shout out to 104 people that have seen this on LinkedIn. If you have any questions or any comments, thank you for the likes and the loves, and people are celebrating us. Please leave a comment, tell us who you are so we can give you some shout outs, because no one is saying anything to us today, but there's a bunch of people watching. But go ahead, Vicky.
Well, I think I lost my train of thought there. So remind me what we were saying for just a second.
Who knows what we're saying? I don't know. I'm new.
So the baby's born and you can't tell just from looking at the genitalia.
During the ultrasound, yes.
So I joined the practice that had been owned by my doctor when I was born. So you have to understand, he delivered babies for years and years and years. There were no ultrasounds. So the gender, sometimes there were twins and they didn't know it. I mean, the number of babies was sometimes surprising. So, that happened to him occasionally. And so the gender was not ever known in that day and age until delivery. So I certainly don't think there was that much. I'll be honest. I don't believe, and I don't know about you, Dr. Lulu. I think that those days, families had so many children, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. My grandparents, I think there were like 10 kids in each family on my mom's side for my grandparents. I'm sure they were, at some point, they didn't care. Didn't care.
Ooh, that's a good point. Kim, what are your thoughts about this? Like, by the 4th or 5th baby, are you still doing a gender? And obviously, none of us know, because none of us did the gender reveal party. But this is a great thought. Like, by the 3rd, 4th, or 5th baby, are you still really doing a gender reveal party? Because aren't you just like, oh yeah, we had another baby and without trying to make the baby feel like you're not important? But yeah, Kim, what are your thoughts?
Well, I guess because the first one for me, when we couldn't tell, what their gender was until late in the game, like I said, I practiced having a baby that I didn't know, didn't care, as long as they were healthy, right? And I think, especially back with some of the older boomers that have these 8, 10, 12 kids in their families, I'm sure they were just focused on, are they a healthy baby? So I can't imagine seeing a whole lot of celebratory for a gender necessarily back then. But but even for me, for my second one, I really wasn't that excited about the gender, because I didn't have that excitement with the first one. I didn't need the excitement for the second one, and I just said, as long as they're healthy, I'm good.
Yeah, but as physicians. Sorry.
I do have one thing that I wanted, point that I was thinking about when we were doing this. When I heard about the topic for the podcast, I wrote a note down. So preparing the baby's room, right? If you don't know if it's a boy or a girl, sometimes you rely on the ultrasound. Oh, it's a girl, so everything's pink and everything, or it's a boy, everything's blue and trucks and everything. When do you change the baby's room? It's probably when they start having an interest or showing an interest in something, or kind of really feeling that, okay, I'm a boy, I like trucks, or maybe I just like trucks, or when do you change the baby's room theme, right? It's usually when they can communicate and tell you, right? Why not apply that to gender? When they can communicate and tell you. And I know that's hard for some people to understand. And I don't have the right or wrong answer here. I'm just talking out loud because that's what I do. But let's just say, you know, we don't ask them, are you a boy or a girl? Maybe we have raised them in traditional gender roles. But what happens when they come to you and say, Mommy, I don't want my pink room anymore. I want a blue room. Or I don't want to wear this dress. I want to wear these, whatever, shorts instead. And, they communicate. So like waiting till they communicate that I don't want this kind of room anymore.
Yeah.
Why don't we take the word for it when they can communicate what they identify as when they're older? It puts my brain in a different place. Like
that's a good one. I think that's one of when we get to the solution part of it, then we say that's one of the things we can do. But go ahead, Vicki. I
was going to say, this is the part where they're starting to exert control over their environment. And I feel like it's a good opportunity. Two things I want to say. Number one, when people talk about their gender reveal parties, I kind of have this funny thing in my brain where I basically say you're having the genital reveal party. I mean, honestly, it's just the genitals that you're talking about. Because
write that down. I have to write that down. That is the party. Yes.
My own personally.
Because that's what it is. And so who's that could go. Ooh, Vicki.
I mean, because I know it's only me and it was my experience, but I'll be honest. One night I sat down at a table with colleagues, and I'm not making this up. I sat down at a dinner with some physician friends, and I did not know that a woman I was working with over here on the right-hand side had a transgender son. I'd known her for several years. And I did not know that my teacher from medical school, who was sitting on my left, had a transgender daughter. And I thought, well, I obviously am not the only one. So the point is, it is a genital reveal party. For me, it actually was. And for my oldest. And then the part that I think goes into the changing their room and changing their name is the part where as parents, we have to stop giving up control and allow them to express their own identity. So if your child no longer wants Noah's Ark around the entire room, which is what was there, because that was a pretty generic theme, right? Then are you going to tear down all the paper? Are you going to take down all the wallpaper and put something up because your child is saying, I want a different room? For me, we talked about the choice of names, and it's again a giving up control as a parent and allowing them to have that choice. And it's not about us; it's about them, and that's.
I love it. Whose party is it anyway? That's Kimmy's question. This is so important. But I think the title of this podcast, because a lot of times I let the podcast tell me the title, is going to be Gender Reveal Party or Genital Reveal Party. And I've been saying this before because one of the things I wrote this week on one of my social medias is I will not be reduced down to my genitals. And if you take away my vajayjay today, I'm still a girly girl. And so if you're, for those who are thinking that your gender is based on your genitals, who is the perv now? Who's the one focused on genitals?
We're up here showing pictures. Like, look, you can see it. You can see it.
Oh, I thought about
like, who's the groomer now? Okay, don't get me started.
But I mean, and you're showing their genitals without their permission because they can't.
Without their permission.
It's really inappropriate.
Okay, so we're at the bottom of the hour. The show is called Moms for Trans Kids Podcast. This is such a fun conversation. I didn't know where we're going to go with that, but y'all got me hot. So the show is brought to you courtesy of Apollo Wellness. Apollo Wellness is a gender-affirming, LGBT plus affirming HIV, clinic at this point in the northwestern side of San Antonio. And I learned the words and I forgot the words. So let's go. Go find them. Tell them that Cholulu sent ya. They are in San Antonio. They will affirm your gender. They will affirm your sexuality. They will affirm you. And they will also help you take care of your HIV needs, if that's what it comes down to. Or really, truly, if they can't, they will send you to someone who will. So ask them for a discount. See if they can give you a special Dr. Lulu discount. If there's one, let me know about the discount so I can tell other people. But the show is called Moms for Trans Kids Podcast, and our sponsors at this point on this half of the show is Apollo Wellness in the northwest side of San Antonio, Texas. Phew. So now let's take a little twist. Vicky, you introduced the word parental control, which I wish our sister Gail was here, because I don't want to talk about Gail behind her back. But last week, Gail had mentioned something about when her child was trying to pick their new name, how much Gail really, really wanted to be a part of that process. And I want us to talk today about picking new names for children. For those of you who are just watching us, the trans and gender diverse people, they have the phrase dead name for the names that parents the names that parents give to them at birth. I, who is not of trans experience, of course, I have no say in this. I just prefer the word birth name because I personally don't like the word
birth
dead
name too. I like that better.
Yeah, but again, I want to be very sensitive so that no one says, well, how dare you? I know I didn't choose dead names. I'm not saying don't use dead names. I just say I prefer birth names because I'm thinking more of life, but that's okay. Either way, the names that our children do not want us to use anymore. And one of us actually has had to experience the name change already, maybe once, maybe more than once. Maybe those of you watching or listening have children who have changed their names once or maybe more than once. So let's talk about changing names. My own story, my child picked a name, which, believe it or not, was the name that I semi-picked, except I have 2 letters off. I'm not going to say the name because I've not been permitted. I didn't ask. I'm sure she will say yes, but I didn't ask. So, but the name I picked is just 2 letters off. Really, for me, 1 letter off from the name that she picked. So I believe that because I'm woo-woo, that the universe was even in alignment with the new name that I picked would have been the name that the name that she picked would have been the name that I would have picked if I was given a chance to do it over again. But that's me. What about you, Kim, Vicky? Take it away.
Oh, I have a question. How did that come about? Was that a nickname that you had given her? How did she do?
Oh, great question. So first of all, as you know, I was not affirming. So this is not a conversation that my child and I had at all. My kid actually did very, very well on her own. I don't know if you all remember, I said, she gave me an ultimatum. She said, Mom, I can go along this journey on my own. You can come with me or you cannot. That was when I said, I'm coming. I was not part of the discussion in any which way. She changed her name and told us the name. And in my heart, I already had that name picked with just 1 letter off.
Wow.
But I never said it to her. To this moment, I haven't told her.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Anyway, but to answer your question, the name that I call the kids together, her name starts with the letter P, the name that we've always called her. It wasn't the name she was christened with, but growing up, there was a name that everyone used to call her. So that name started with the letter P. And so thankfully, her new name also begins with the letter P. So I'm still able to call all the kids together with the one name because the letter P is still there. So who knows if my smart, beautiful child was actually thinking more about me in the process without even me. Maybe it's time for me to have the conversation now. Maybe it's time. But yeah, I don't want to get all soft and mushy, but yeah.
Well, that's very interesting. And my daughter tried to make it a fairly smooth transition. So she does use the term dead name because she wants to emphasize to us that she does not want us to use that name. So that's why she is very adamant, which interesting. I didn't know that it was it's painful. It's a painful reminder, I think, for her.
It's dysphoric. Yeah, it causes dysphoria.
Yeah,
Big
she
time.
really, yeah, no, she gets a lot of dysphoria just hearing the name, which I did not realize. But
Yeah.
so she actually,
Especially, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
yeah,
especially if the name is so overly gendered.
it is.
Like, for instance, a Michael, right?
Yes.
Versus maybe I know there's Michaela, true, but
Yeah.
Michael is so obviously
Yes.
not a girl's name. Yeah. So when we have those kind of situations, it's
Mhm.
very dysphoric for them. It's very
Yeah.
dysphoric. So, yeah.
Right. And so, well, there's multiple levels as we're talking, and I'm thinking, I'm going, wow, okay, there's a lot of levels here. So my daughter, her dead name, birth name, the first name was, and I think I've told you before, was the name of almost every male in the family. So the first name was her father's name, both of her grandfather's names, my brother's name, both of my grandfathers. They all had the same first name. It's a little bit like Mary for, some families. So so it was kind of, and it was the firstborn son. So if the child would have this name, and her father was the third. So this name, whatever, the third. But I said fourth, but we kept the first name and we changed the middle name. And the middle name was the name that she was called. But we had shortened it over, you get 3 kids, you just don't have time to use all the syllables.
True.
We just couldn't. So we were using G, I mean, basically G. And the nickname everyone in the family called her G. So as a 15-year-old, she chose a female name of Grace as her middle name. And wanted to keep, ironically, she wanted to keep being called by her middle name because all of her life she'd been called by her middle name, and she kept the G. So the reason that was almost like a very kind transition. But interestingly enough, it didn't take long for her to be annoyed because to her, calling her G was a cop-out. Saying G was just making it easier on people to not acknowledge that she was Grace.
I got it.
So there were multiple levels. We got rid of that first name. That name was gone. There was a new first name, which was Sarah, but she didn't go by Sarah. She went by G. She went by Grace. Now, interestingly, little did I understand that at the age of 15, how do we make decisions at 15? Apparently, there was some pressure in and around a relationship, and that name was maybe something she wouldn't have necessarily picked. There's some issues, and she for years has been bothered by the fact that this name and the way she chose that name was influenced by someone who is now no longer in their life. I think it's very simple. Divorced. I got divorced and changed my last name back to my maiden name. And so, interestingly, this Grace is somehow associated with some prior times in life, which aren't as, I don't know, as good.
That's good.
So she had decided that she's going to go by her first name, but then she decided to change it to Serafina, which has made my brain all rickety rackety crazy. So I'm just here for you moms to help me out, because she knows I'm like, oh gosh, couldn't you just make it like Sarah? Because that actually, she has gone to the trouble. She's changed her gender markers. She actually has an official birth certificate. It is written that way, but now it's a different name. And she and I talked about this yesterday again. I mean, it's her saying, this is the name I feel comfortable with, and this is who I am. And I'm like, okay. So she talked about, and I think Grace's comment is,
wait, Vicky, wait.
Yeah.
I think we have to be honest.
Yeah.
Kim, what are your thoughts about that? Okay. What did that tell you? That told me, okay, I'm winning a little bit. I want us to remember, because we also want to hold each other accountable here. Is there an element of control here, Vicky? Is there an element of, okay, parental control? Come on now. Kimmy, yes, no, maybe so. I mean,
you're looking at the right person to ask this question, because, well, first of all, the oldest picked a name. Used a middle name that was a family name. which was great. And he's been happy ever since. My youngest is still trying. I still think he's trying on different names. Okay,
I
so
love that
so
phrase, trying on different names.
it's
I want the
exactly
parents to
that.
know that, yes, that it may take a few tries. This is so important, Kimmy.
Yeah. So yeah, he tried on a name. We thought of it together. I was so excited because it was one that I thought had really nice meaning behind it and everything, and it was beautiful. And and then, one day he came and he said, well, I'm changing it to this now. And I was like you, Vicky. I was like, it's that sign, like, I just got used to
I
this
just
one.
got used to it.
But
Yes, yes.
guess what? It's about me, right? Whose party is it anyway? This is my people's party.
Exactly.
I
Thank
remember when they were.
you.
So
So is it about parental control?
yeah, no. So that feeling is very natural, and it's very it's very self-serving, but be just please, that's the only thing I can say right now is just be flexible. This is their journey. They're still allowing you in it, and how grateful should you be? I mean, just to be able to be in that discussion, to kick around a couple of names was quite the honor. So he didn't do that the next time. We tried that one out, didn't work, tried another one out. So we're on the fourth name now. I think
Wow.
this is gonna stick, and really we want to make sure that we're trying it on, it feels right, and that's how he wants to go about presenting himself to the world as he enters into adulthood. It's going to go on a new birth certificate. It's going to go on a new driver's license soon. So he's got to be comfortable with it, and I'm just here to let him figure it out. Nothing's been made official change yet on any document. So I'm just letting him figure it out, and he'll let me know. I think we're there though, but Vicky, that sigh was very honest, and I feel it. I felt it with you, because it is tough.
Yeah.
People are complaining about pronouns. I mean, when you have a child that you're used to, like, so and so take out the garbage, or hey girls. Now I'm like, hey boys. I mean, it's total, like, I had to get a totally different, how do I round up the herd here, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
it takes some time to get used to, but take a breath. It's just a name. It's
Yeah.
they're still the same person.
And I think it's mostly for me feeling like, oh my gosh, now I have to go explain this. Does that make sense?
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
but yeah, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought it up, because you wanted us to talk about it. So yeah, let's talk about that, because you wanted us to talk about that. Yeah, I have to.
Right.
You say you have a feeling like you have to, and I'm like, you don't have to do anything. But go ahead.
Yeah. No, thank you. I need permission to not have to do anything. I mean,
Well, the only thing you have to, the part that I think becomes a little confusing, and kind of, it gives me that sigh,
yeah.
is okay, I have to explain to the therapists and the doctors and the change the preferred name that's written down on different forms like that.
Well, I have a
But I want to play devil's advocate and say, number one, what if you do? And then number two, what if you don't? What if you don't have to explain anything? Giving the child the autonomy.
Yeah.
What if we let the child explain? Look, I want to say honestly that I don't think any therapist is going to hold you account, fault you. You know what I mean? Like, if we're trying to, and I hear it, because I can imagine if my kid, after almost 2 years now, says, okay, it's now, like, I don't know, Raymonda. I said, oh my God. But now it's like, okay, the same way we got used to the whole gender change in the first place, by not making it about us, I
Yep.
want us to take a deep breath and ask ourselves the question, what is really driving that? Oh my God, now I have to.
You're
Oh
right.
my God, now I have to. Because that sounds like It's almost like there's a little bit of a resentment in there. I don't
You
really
know,
want to.
it's a little trauma. I mean, for me,
Yes.
it's a little bit of it was a little bit of the fear, a little bit of the fear that now I'm going to go tell Granny and Uncle Dean, and I got to go tell these people. And part of me feels as if, tell me if I'm crazy here, and maybe I am. Maybe this is totally crazy. I don't think they view it this way, but some people might be like, okay, and now they're changing their name again. Are they going to what are they going to change next? And, there's a little bit of that backlash fear that people are going to be like, okay. And
well, let's finish that thought, Vicky.
Is that valid?
You're most worried about it because you're thinking they're going to turn around and blame you. I mean, come on, let's say it. You're thinking that, oh, well, they changed their name again because you allowed them to change in the first place. I mean, ultimately, parents, we feel that people are going to blame us for quote unquote allowing it, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm going further to say the truth is I had no role in it, and being able to absolve ourselves of the guilt, because that's it, is that guilt that, oh God, now I have to go and tell grandpa again. What if I don't have to tell grandpa? What if we wait until we're finally at the final name before we tell? That's one. Or number two, explain to them that it's a process, and they're trying out the names. Yeah. And you know what? I want you to be okay with the fact that it's a tryout, and truthfully, what are you making it mean? I need us to do that. Let us ask them, what are you making this person trying out their name over here mean?
I'm going to tell you something else that came to me. Grace pointed out many people use different names in their family than they use in their personal life, than they use in their professional life.
Okay.
And said it's sort of like that. When you're little junior, when you're a kid, and then you grow up and you use another name now because you're 18. And that's what Grace said it's like. It's like you realize this is what I want to be called. And by the time she told me, most of her friends at school were already using the new name. So she'd been using it and hadn't told me, which again was the trauma of being left out of the process.
Exactly. Right. Yes. So it's a bigger thing is what we're saying. And hopefully those who are listening can see this is Vicky literally processing it in real time. Like we're not moms for trans kids who know it all. We're moms for trans kids who are figuring it. She said, correct me if I'm wrong, or am I crazy? Because this is really truly Vicky processing it in real time. Yeah. Vicky, thank you for allowing me.
We're also figuring it out, Vicky. But from my angle, though, I wouldn't necessarily call it, resentful as much as protective. And what I'm protective of is my youngest and his peace.
Right.
He's made peace with these are no longer my names because of X, Y, and Z. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. This is who he is now. This is what he wants to go by, and I'm going to protect that at all costs, right?
You're such a good mama bear. Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, I'm just.
Yeah, I love that. But I think what I'm hearing, Kim, you're saying this in regards to the people you have to explain to, right? Is that what you mean? Like, as far as not having to, you're saying this is what my child wants. I want to guard it.
I do.
So it doesn't really matter what all of y'all think. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
No, I don't care what anybody thinks. But
this is why we don't give a fuck.
I don't give a fuck.
I was waiting for you to say that. Oh my God.
I think every week, Vicky, we're gonna have to find a point in the show where we're gonna have to say, like, it's gonna come naturally. Like, this is why we don't give a fuck.
It usually happens at least once for me.
And this is so powerful, Vicky. Thank you again for allowing us to be part of the process. And I want you to hold space for yourself and give yourself permission to not fully get it all today. And maybe there's a way you can find in your heart to allow your child the autonomy, and then allow yourself to also maybe be left out in some decisions. I mean, let's face it, if your child is getting married, right? Any of your kids, any of us, any parent listening to us, they first get engaged to their boo, and then they tell you. And they tell you when they want to tell you. 9 times out of 10, it's not the day they got engaged that they told you.
Yeah.
And you should be very, very thankful that they even tell you, right? Welcome to the party. We have Nina, Babs, they, them saying, hey,
Hi.
welcome to the party. If you have any questions, please let us know. We're talking about gender norms, gender reveal parties, gender names, gendered names, name changes, the process that the parents are going through. This is why I love what I do. I help organizations support parents. I help people hear the parents' journey, the parents' side, not because we're disregarding our children's journey, but because we have now realized that our kids are going to do what our kids are going to do. We need to catch up. And that's what we're doing here today. So
we need each other. I need you ladies. I mean, who knew when we started this that a few weeks in, I'm going to be like, wait, guys, like, I need help. I mean, that's what we need each other to support each other. I did not seek out that kind of help. I was not as wise as Gail. I didn't go to PFLAG. I didn't go get that. You know what I mean? I didn't have that community. So that's what we're hoping to do here, is to give them.
And if you're wondering who Gail is the fourth of the quartet. Gail is our sister who is at a PFLAG meeting tonight, as a matter of fact. Gail is the other voice who you'll be hearing from time to time, and she's just not here today. But so it's me, Kim, and Vicky, just kind of holding the fort today, talking about things that moms need to be talking about anyway. I honestly I hear something during the week and I just run it by the girls. I'm like, let's talk about this. And I'm like, yeah, let's talk about it. We're talking about it. We don't practice. There's no rehearsal. Every single thought you're hearing today is being thought in real time. Like we don't have a pre-practice. Nobody have time for that. So as we close,
but I didn't. I was going to go. When we started talking about this, I had this brilliant plan that I was going to do a deep dive into the literature and into the neuroendocrine research. But that's not what it's about here.
Vicky, are you serious? I'm not the doctor. Vicky, ever the doctor. Oh my goodness. So
there are a lot of parents, though, that I think that they're gonna need some of that. I mean, let's face it. We are taking a gamble at science. We've heard that this is what science says, that gender is definitely more of a spectrum versus a binary this or that. And people are born with both or non-distinguishable genitals. So there's got to be an explanation for those things. It's and I like the thought of the spectrum versus a one binary.
And I mentioned this when I did my initial, kind of time here with Dr. Lulu. What gave me comfort as a geek, as a molecular biologist and total science geek, what gave me the most comfort was when an MD PhD who was a patient of mine provided me with information. And then I went and did some research and figured out that gender is our brain defines our gender identity, and our gonads define our genitalia. And so it's like the two things they actually don't even develop at the same time in utero. When a baby's being developed, they are developing at different times, and there are processes involved in much of that, but a lot of it's not understood. But there's a brain, a central nervous system part, and then there's the genital expression part, and we don't know all of the details, but we obviously know now there's this continuum. So
what's really affirming to me is I'm sitting here having this discussion with two doctors. I mean, a thing or two about a thing or two. So I'm just saying, I'm sitting in the room with a couple of brilliant people that are also, taking the same parental journey that I am, and we don't know the future and what it holds for us and our kids. But one thing that we do have in common, the three of us, is that we want to be a part of it going forward. We want to be a part of that journey. And if it's them defining that journey, that's the way it should be. I'm going to define my journey. I'm certainly going to make sure that they get the chance and the opportunity to define theirs.
And we want them to be in part of our journey too, right? See,
Absolutely, yeah.
and I think that for me is why I'm where I'm sitting today.
Mhm.
Is not only do I want to be part of my children's journey, all three of my children, I want them to be part of my journey moving
Yep.
forward. And so I still want us all to be connected as I grow and change and they grow and change. I've changed a lot in the last 10 years. Why should I, hold it against them? Right. Right.
Yep.
What a beautiful place to end the show. We have 5 minutes on the clock, and I've been fussing with my drink back here and trying not to choke. But this is such a beautiful place to end the show. Why do we not want them to also be in our lives? A lot of times, one of the things that parents do inadvertently as we try to control every aspect of our children's lives is we drive the wedge bigger and bigger, and we alienate them. And then, just as much as Vicky said, just as much as we want to be in their lives, we also want to allow them to be in ours. And if we're putting up all these roadblocks because we're trying to be like the all-knowing and be, first of all, that's exhausting. Second of all, it drives them away from wanting to be part of our lives. I have learned this the hardest way you can imagine. I was that parent who thought I knew everything. And let me tell you, I laid in fetal position and I realized I don't know everything. And I was so happy to be relieved of the pressure to know everything. Who wants to know everything? Who needs that? Too
Right.
much pressure. And so what we've said today is gender identity matters. If gender reveal parties are your thing, by all means, have at it. Dr. Lulu, Vicky, and Gil, who is not here, and Kim, who is here. We're not saying don't have your gender reveal parties. What I wanted to say before the show went live, I said I found a better way to say it is during the conference today in Atlanta, Georgia. I told a mom who said twice, I have two sons. Both times she said, I have two sons. And it occurred to me, I said, ma'am, with all due respect, let's try saying I have two children who I'm raising as boys.
Yes.
And it came from a deep place. And I was like, oh my fucking God, that's what it is. We are raising the kids in the gender that we think. We are socializing them. We're indoctrinating them, if I might add.
We're grooming them.
Gender that we think. So we're raising. So I said, how about I have two children that I'm raising as boys? Because it also saves you the drama when the child says, Mom, you know what? I'm actually not a boy. Then it's not so hard for you to say, you know what? All I was doing was raising you as one. How do you want us to raise you now? Because it is a huge responsibility to raise children. Their gender identity is just one of the many, many things we have to deal with. And I don't want any of us to succumb to the pressure of having to get it right all the time. Nobody should have to deal with that. So my name is Dr. Lulu. The show is called Moms for Trans Kids Podcast. Join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. I'll be here, or one of my two co-conspirators will be here, if I'm not, to talk to you about our journey as parents who are figuring it out. And as Kim said earlier on, we can all try to figure it out. And as Vicky said, honestly, maybe we're crazy, but you know what? We want to be crazy, and we want our kids to be in our lives as much as we want them to be. We want our kids to be in our lives. We want them to allow us to be in their lives, and we don't want to make any mistakes. We don't want to make any more mistakes. Enough have been made already. So, if the show was valuable to you, then join us next Sunday as we launch officially on Apple Podcasts, the Moms for Trans Kid podcast. We're going to release 5 episodes next week Sunday as the official launch. And then you can now share the links as much as you want. You can watch them on YouTube and at Dr. Lulu Talk Radio. You can watch them live streamed on LinkedIn and YouTube every Sunday, or you can just listen to us on your way to work. Yes, it's an hour-long show. You can listen half on your way to work and listen to the other half on the way back from work. So for me, it's good night. Have a wonderful week ahead. What about you, Vicky? How do you say goodbye in Vicky language?
Oh gosh, we say I don't even I don't even know. I'm just going to say we're going to have a great week. The North Carolina State Fair starts this Thursday. It's great. Come to Raleigh. We'll have a great time. It's going to be a wonderful week in North Carolina.
Love it. Yes. And what about Kimmy? How do you say have a great week in Kimmy language?
Oh, find the good in this week. That's what my sunflower is about today, right? I may have planted 200 or so. I may have only been able to grow a few, and I got one and I'm wearing it on your podcast, Dr. Lulu, just for you.
Yay.
So find the good, right? Find the good, celebrate the good, and enjoy the week and make the best of it. And we'll see you next Sunday.
Yes, and as we go out today, I want to make an executive decision. I may or may not have told Vicky I was going to do this. So we've all lost people in our lives in the last several months. I have lost 8 in total. Vicky has lost whoever she's lost, and whoever is listening to us has lost whoever they've lost. So for the last minute of the show, as we go out, we're going to do a minute of silence, and then we'll go out in silence because we want to remember all those who've lost, especially the gender diverse kids who have been lost for being themselves. And especially also for the children right now in Palestine and Gaza, whatever your political views are, we have children being kidnapped and being killed as we speak for no fault of their own. And of course, the adults too, but we're here for kids. So we're going to observe 1 minute of silence as we go out. We thank you all so much for joining us. And don't forget to share the show with one person this week. Peace, love, and soul.
Bye-bye.